Hello and welcome back. In this episode we're going to be taking a look at the Align widget, which, as the name suggests, allows you to align content inside its parent. You'll notice that we have a home page with a scaffold. The scaffold contains an app bar, and what we're going to want to do is give the scaffold a body, and the body will contain a single container which will be red in colour. And for the purposes of this demonstration, it will have a fixed width and height of 100 by 100. You'll notice there the container is aligned by default in the top left hand corner of the scaffold. Now what we can do is we can wrap this container widget in an Align widget. So what we're going to want to do is simply click on this Wrap with Widget, and we're going to want to use the Align widget. As you can see there, by default, the Align widget will always center align its child. The alignment geometry being set to essentially center align. You'll notice we also have a couple of other properties, width factor and height factor, which we'll cover a little bit later. The first thing to note with the Align widget is that it will automatically fill the width and height that it has available to it if the width and the height are constrained. You'll notice that the Align widget will automatically expand to fill the width and height of the scaffold body. However, if either the width and or the height become unconstrained, then the Align widget will automatically switch to match the width and or height of its child. To show this in action, I'm going to wrap the Align widget in an unconstrained box. You'll notice how, with the unconstrained box, meaning the width and height are unconstrained, the Align widget will revert to use the same width and height of its child. In this case, the container widget with a width of 100 and a height of 100, meaning that the Align widget will have the same width and height of both 100. If we constrain one of the axes, starting off with the horizontal axis, you'll notice how, because the horizontal axis now has constraints applied to it, the Align widget will fill that horizontal space. However, because the vertical axis is still unconstrained, the Align widget will still have a height of 100, because that is the height of the container, which is the child widget. Similarly, if we switch the axes to be constrained in the vertical direction, the horizontal direction becomes unconstrained, meaning that the Align widget will share the same width of its child, 100 pixels. However, the vertical axis from top to bottom now has constraints applied to it, which means that the Align widget will fill all of the vertical space, the height of its parent. We'll remove this unconstrained box for now, and you'll see there the Align widget will automatically once again fill all of the width and the height available to it. Now you'll notice, as we mentioned earlier on, the width factor and height factor properties. These essentially allow you to have a finer grained control over the width and the height of the Align widget. Specifying a width factor of 1 will give the Align widget the same width as its child. In this case it will be 100 pixels. The width of the child, in this case the width of the container, is 100, times by the width factor of 1 means the width of the Align widget will be 100 times 1, which is 100. You'll notice if we change the width factor to be 2, then the width of the Align widget will be 200, because the width of the child container is 100 times the width factor of 2, giving a total width for the Align widget of 200. The height factor works in exactly the same way. For example, with a height factor of 4, the height of the Align widget will become 400. That's because the height of the container is 100 times the height factor of 4 gives a total height for the Align widget of 400. Removing both the width factor and the height factor will make the Align widget automatically fill the available width and height. The other property that we have on the Align widget is this alignment. Now you can use one of the pre-populated alignment values, which are center, center right, bottom center, bottom left, bottom right, center left, top left, and top right. These are predefined values which are provided for ease of use. You'll notice by default that the alignment is center. However, you could also specify top center, which will automatically align the child in the top center of the Align widget. Likewise, bottom center will align in the bottom center, center left aligning on the center left of the Align widget, and then center right aligning the container in the center right of the Align widget. Feel free to have a play around with some of those other predetermined values at your leisure. You could also specify a custom alignment if none of those predefined values fills your required needs. By default, the constructor of the alignment takes in an x and a y parameter. You'll notice if we specify an x and y of both 0 and 0, this is the equivalent of saying alignment.center. That's because the alignment works in a coordinate system ranging from -1 on the x-axis to 0 in the center to +1 on the x-axis on the right hand side. The y-axis running vertically works much the same, with -1 being at the top, 0 being at the center, and then 1 being at the bottom. To show you this in action, if we were to change both of the alignments to 1, you'll notice how the container widget is aligned in the bottom right. That's because with an x fractional positioning there of 1 and a y fractional positioning of 1, we'll move it into the bottom right. You could also specify 0.5 and 0.5, and that will then move it to essentially 3/4, 75% of the way across the x-axis, and 75%, 3/4 of the way down the y-axis. Similarly, as you'll recall, we mentioned that the start is -1 and the end is +1, which means flipping those to -0.5 and -0.5 will move it more towards the top left, 25% of the way across the x-axis and 25% of the way down the y-axis. Essentially, if you're looking to align your child widget, you can either use the center widget, which will automatically centrally align the container into the center of the parent, or if you want to align using one of the predetermined values, you can use this Align widget with a custom alignment set to one of those predetermined values. Or, if you want even more fine-grained control over the precise alignment, then you can specify alignment passing in a custom x and y value, both the x and y ranging from -1 through to +1. I hope you found this look at the Align widget useful, and thank you very much for watching.